Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. This podcast covers the national champions, also ranked number one, good to be king. Look who it is. Got the old band back together before they even broke up. The Dean, Bill Kurelic, the Grand Poobah, Mark Porter. We're going to get into it today. We've got some good stuff for you. We've got a little bit of an interesting video vibe later in the show, and I'll get to the details of why this occurred in the fashion it does or will. We had some intentions to get you some video from local in-state stars. In fact, we had to actually move up some of our 2027 reviews. We didn't want to finish up the 2027 commitment, so there haven't been a bunch of them until we had a little bit of new video, or at least some new vibes on these guys. So today we'll get a look at Brady Edmonds, the future quarterback, the next in the Cali cool connection, and we'll go to that. But first, these guys know their stuff, and I figure we're far enough into the season to ask this question. William, we'll start with you first. Do you feel like Ohio State is the best team in the country? If not, who scares you or who should be number one? And then, who's a threat to the Buckeyes right now, in your opinion?
I do absolutely think they should be number one. I think you use the word scare and then you kind of change that. And I would say that there isn't anybody that scares me out there. I mean, watching college football this year, I think Ohio State is, at this point, the best team, period, in the country. Obviously, Oregon is a good team. I mean, they are a good team, but I wouldn't say I think if you put Ohio State on the field against any of these teams on a neutral field, I would take Ohio State.
I think they'd be favored. You're right.
Yeah, I think Oregon maybe it would be my top contender. They are a good team. Miami, I think that's obvious. They're up there too. And if I had to pick somebody down a little farther, boy, I'd be kind of hard pressed. I think Oklahoma's a pretty good team, but again, I don't think anybody scares me. But it's kind of interesting. This summer, when I was at Ohio State, I had mentioned to a Ohio State staffer that I didn't know exactly when it would be, but I was going to be retiring. And the staffer said, well, that, do it now, do it coming off a national championship. Lo and behold, maybe I could have waited and come off a national championship the way things are looking this year.
Very good point. Marcus, same question. Do you think Ohio State's the best team? And then who are the other teams that impress you?
Yeah, it would be idiocy to say that they're not the number one team right now, and they don't deserve to be the number one team. They've proven that. And that's what they did last year in the playoffs might not ever be able to be done before, and that was so impressive that you thought that there could be no second act, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, hold my beer. We're going to take a bunch of guys that are brand new, and we're going to look just as dominating and just as good. I am learning how much more pessimistic I am than both the Dean and yourself, because I see college football now in these playoffs. And if you remember back just a few short years, you'd have the top four teams or top two teams, and you knew it wasn't right. You knew there was a team at 6 or a team at 8 that got hot or was playing well that just would never get a chance. And we learned last year that even a team with 2 losses like Ohio State, who lost to a mediocre Michigan team, could run the table. Does that sound like anybody else? I worry about Indiana. I worry about the arrogance and cockiness of Kirk Cignetti and, a team like that. I worry about Penn State because their back is against the wall and they're talented. I give credit like Bill did to those other top-ranked teams, but I think Ohio State wins those games. I think they'd be favored. I think you'd be a fool before the game to think Ohio State would lose to Indiana. I just think football is a tough game to play your bet. Dan, you've said it so many times. Every time we go somewhere, it's the other team's biggest game. And as soon as you let your guard down for a quarter or a half, you end up in the dog fight of your life at Ohio State. And I hate to be negative. I know the Buckeye fans don't like this, but I worry that game is on our schedule somewhere. And I worry that, and that's just common sense of don't know who, don't know why, but there's a lot of teams and a lot of great minds sitting around in staff rooms scheming up what they see at Ohio State and putting together that 8 or 10 minute drive. Embrace the negative. I know. But so I think that there's these anomalies in college sports that have hurt teams in the past and given them these dings or losses. And Ohio State proved last year that a 2-loss team can do this. So I don't think we know based on an undefeated schedule who the biggest puncher is going to be, who's going to be a Mike Tyson going down the road, and especially as you reach the playoffs. But when you brought this up this morning, I'm like, oh boy, here comes my worrisome, pessimistic. I had a golf partner once tell me that, boy, you're pretty negative. And I'm like, why? Because I point out how hard these shots are sometimes. And, instead of just like, oh, I'm going to make this, I'm like, boy, this is a side hill bender with a double twist to it. And, so I kind of see sports, because I've been around it so long, maybe a little more cynical way. But Ohio State has by far earned the number one title. They look like they're going to run the table, but I don't want to be that naive. And you hear this after the loss all the time. Sometimes a loss isn't the worst thing that ever happened to you, especially in this day and age. It's almost a system that's been built to embrace one of those things. So I was the first, and remember, I was the first one after that Michigan game last year, like, oh, look out. Like, you don't want to be in that locker room right now. And that emotion is going to carry you through the playoffs. Go back and play the podcast. I was the most positive person there, but this right now is just a weird question. It caught me kind of like, 5 games into it, we're already going to run the table and go 15-0. I want to golf with Mark. I don't know about that.
Mark's going to have to get you into his highfalutin country club, so let's hope you fit the mold there. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Here's how I feel about it. The teams that scare me, number one, I would say Oregon, because, and this still got to be proven out a little bit, they have a quarterback. See, to me, to beat Ohio State, you have to have a quarterback. There's no way you're going to just show up to beat Ohio State and like put together a bunch of long drives and like out execute them and get a bunch of short third and shorts and such and just beat them that way. I don't believe that to be the case so far. I haven't seen anything from Ohio State that would let me think that would happen. The one team that actually scares me that we haven't talked about that Bill mentioned is Oklahoma. And that would only be if they were at full strength and John Mateer was at full strength. Now, I don't think Mateer is – he's a very good – he's got – for one night, he's the kind of guy that can run around and hurt you. And you need someone like that to do that. So I will say this about the Buckeyes in terms of confidence. I've never been as confident in the defense. I'm not sure since, and I'd have to go back and look, but I can't remember the feeling I've had on defense being any better than this in the last 15 years. And I knock on wood, and this is one of the things I think is going to need to come out about. I don't know why this is. I'm assuming this is some nexus between Matt Patricia and Caleb Downs. Is they don't bust. There are no busted coverages. If you look at most teams, the OC will throw in a trick every now and then, and some guy's running free, or it's like an obvious situation of advantage. Ohio State's given up some touchdowns, and I've said this, but they've been great plays by the other team. The OU receiver, whose name escapes me, who's going to be a pro, fought off Lorenzo for a touchdown. I mean, I remember the touchdown pass Arch threw in the end zone. Those were great plays by the opposition. You have to make a great play to score a touchdown. Other teams' offenses have been in the red zone 8 times against Ohio State. They have a total of 0 touchdowns. I've never, ever seen a team, and this actually started last year, where the other team gets inside the 20 and you're like, no touchdown. Whereas other teams I root for in the professional ranks, they get inside the other team's 50 and it's like, oh, that's a touchdown we're giving up. Very, very impressive. So I would say right now they have to be the lead dog. Oregon 2, and then Miami, just for me personally, I got to see that one. I got to see Miami beat someone super silly, and do it without letting up at the end. I'm not a Carson Beck guy. That's just me. I don't know. Mario Cristobal's game management would also make me a little nervous, but we shall see. All right, let's shift.
Let me put a finer point on that, because I see that I have stirred up some comments, Dan.
Yeah, you wanted to do that.
Yeah, I didn't intend to do that, but I agree with you guys. This defense and all this stuff, lights out. We're the best team. There's not another team that I think would beat us or we'd be whatever. Maybe I should have said I'm not worried about Miami or Alabama sneaking up or some weird team, peaking at the end and getting us. I worry about situation. A quarter, a tip ball that goes for a touchdown. Like, our defense is impenetrable, but haven't you guys all been around football long enough to know that a ball sometimes goes through a receiver's hands or something, and it picks six the other day, and then there's an 8-minute drive, and all of a sudden you're in these weird games, and it's I don't worry about the team. I worry about the game script. I worry about the letdown, and where the letdown, like you said, you're getting up for every game. You're getting up for every game. You think, oh, Illinois. Don't you guys remember Illinois beating the Buckeyes, a decade or so ago, and it just being like, where did that come from? It was so those are the things that, like, when you have these pristine environments. I remember the Vikings missing a field goal, when they had a perfect season going, and Tom Brady going all the way to the Super Bowl, and a guy catching a ball stuck to his head and screwing that up. So I guess maybe I just don't want to get the cart in front of the horse for the Buckeyes here. I just know that football is none of us are putting our mortgage payments on this or our house payments in Vegas, betting that this is going to end up the way it is. And I guess that's the Mark Porter here that, boy, I'd like to. Doesn't this seem like a situation where you could say, like, hey, we're going to roll all the way to the end. If I could make a bet right now, I would do it. I would feel confident about that bet, but that's just not the way college football works, and that's why we love it.
We all remember Juice Williams. Todd Beckman was seeing ghosts that day, if you go back. I'll never forget that day. But that team was made up of a lot of DC guys. This just in. If you're west of, or let's say this, if you're, excuse me, you have a college program 200 miles outside of Washington, D.C., and you have 8 to 10 guys on your team from Washington, D.C., you're cheating. That's a fact. Go look at Aurelius Ben and Marvin Austin. Good Lord. NIL would be very friendly to them, but we digress. All right, Bill.
Dan, seeing in the comments there, someone mentioning hopefully Buckeyes will see Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. It'll be nice. It will be nice, hopefully, to actually see Ohio State play in the Big Ten championship game again. It's been some time. I would look forward to seeing that this year.
You know what? I wonder if that didn't help them last year. Now, I'm not saying they should lose, but as Mark said, that was the perfect cocktail. Them getting to watch that and then play in the playoff certainly didn't hurt. What do you guys think about this? Sean Duffy, our fine Gem City native, does Illinois reach double digits this weekend? Of course, the Buckeyes go on the road, noon kickoff in Champaign. Bill?
I was thinking about that, excuse me, before this podcast. If I had to predict a score right now, one of the things would be Illinois' got a pretty good offense. I don't think their defense is real good, but their offense is pretty good. And Altmaier's a pretty good quarterback. He can run and throw. That'll be a little bit of a challenge. But I look at how good Ohio State's defense is. How many points I was thinking does Illinois score on this defense? And that's exactly what you're saying. I guess I could see somewhere around 10 to 17 points for Illinois. That won't be enough to win. I know that, but I think that'll be interesting to see how Altmaier does against this Ohio State defense.
Marcus?
Yeah, I think this is probably a blowout. I see 35 points. I think the offense is clicking and the defense. I mean, they could suffocate a team. Like, literally, it's literally going to take a fluke couple first downs, it feels like, when you watch that defense. Or, well, they got a first down. Then you just immediately know they're going to lock down the chain. So I see a pretty safe, lopsided win here. Even though I was just Debbie Downer for 5 minutes, I would not bet against this team anytime soon.
When you look at what Indiana did to them, I mean, Indiana didn't just beat them. Indiana beat them like they stole something. You know what I mean? It was ugly. Here's what's really interesting to me. And I know this is kind of a tangent, not a tangent, but when you watch Minnesota play and they're coming into the game, they don't run the ball like at all. If you looked at their statistics, and the first drive, I think you saw Minnesota have their best drive. So I think that's I think that's an NFL thing. Someone explained this to me in the NFL once, that and anyone who's followed football and even been on a Pee Wee team or something, the first few plays of a game for an offense are what they call the script. That's usually what you've practiced, and you come into the game and you're like, why did everyone know the first 10 plays so well? And the second drive, we didn't know what we were doing. It's because you only scripted one drive. That's a very NFL thing to do, is to get the script out. Now, I was told that defensive coordinators in the NFL will often play the first two drives as basic as they can. So you run your script so they figure out what you really want to do, and then they adjust to the script going forward, which is why you see a lot of teams in the NFL score points on their first possession and then not score again. So if you're worried about them coming down the field on us, keep in mind, Patricia wants to see you try and empty the gun so he knows what ammunition you have, because he has an answer for every piece of ammunition you have. So you're not going to trick. Once the trickery's done, they're in good shape. When Minnesota lined up after the first drive and didn't run the ball anymore, I'll say this: it's going to take the earth rotating off its axis for a completely one-dimensional team to beat Ohio State. They're too good. They're too well prepared, in my opinion, to not be able to stop that. Luke Altmaier, the quarterback of Illinois, bringing it back to that, he has not thrown an interception yet this year. He's been the focus of their offense. I'm not sure how well they run it. It is going to be so much more confusing for this guy when he gets in there that I don't know who I heard say this. It might have been the great Michael Irvin. When you attack a team's weakness, you take their will. When you attack a team's strength, you take their heart. So Ohio State's going to go right after what Illinois does best. My guess is Illinois is not going to do it best, and then it's off to the races. So I'd like to see a big game out of the running game. I'd like to see James Peoples go over 100 yards. I don't want to be adding up the carries on Bo Jackson. I think I might be in the minority there. Yeah, Debbie and Nellie Downer haven't done well. Oh, negative Nellie and Debbie Downer, last name Porter. Who knows? But we digress. All right, Mark, I would give you the chance to defend yourself, but that will just call more people to do it, and we're going to go down the rabbit hole.
It's well deserved. It really is. And when I coached, I would be like that. And let me say where it stems from. If you got me in front of a psychologist and put me on the chair, and they got me to drift off and ask me my thoughts, playing for Kent State and going 5-49-1 in 5 years, you kind of have this, like I would tell my teams, hey, if I'm starting to get edgy, you guys are doing something wrong, because I'm starting to get that Kent State vibe. And I don't get that Kent State vibe ever around here, but I just knew that the worst team in college football, we would beat a couple teams every year because they just wouldn't show up for us. And we weren't great that day. We were still the bad team that was perennially bad. But this game is a weird thing. You would get first downs. You'd be like, wow, we haven't done that right in practice for 2 weeks. But, boy, it just worked against Bowling Green, and they're the MAC champs right now. So, yeah, I deserve that to heading, and I don't mind it. But I think there's enough people wearing rose-colored glasses.
Scarlet, colored
glasses, and on these Buckeye websites and podcasts, that I don't mean to, go the other direction, but I'm trying to be balanced a little bit. I mean, I think enough people will be like, all you guys do is just praise them and say they're going to win by 30. Well, there's a situation out there. I mean, who would have thought the coaches last year would say, let's try to pound the ball at Michigan with that game plan, and that didn't work. Yeah, how dare I? I mean, it's not like there aren't recent examples of great teams doing things that just didn't work out for an afternoon. And we all had these podcasts the day after these things, and they're head scratchers, and you're like, boy, that was unfathomable months ago. I've just been around on earth long enough to know that's the world we live in. And that's why Vegas is made of gold.
I'm pretty sure the statistic is Ryan Day is like 50-1 against unranked teams, and the unranked team was the one Mark just brought up that he was actually told not to do, and he'll kangaroo court be fined for that. 2 words for Mark Porter. If Mark Porter was at Kent State right now and they were struggling like that, I have 2 words for you: transfer portal. All right. Yep. No way Mark is sticking that out. He's headed off. I'm
a loyal soldier. 5 years of that. You know I'm here for the long haul.
Yeah, that is not an easy deal. Kent State even tried to take the state off there to get nope, didn't work. Let's go back to Kent State and just recruit better. All right, speaking of recruiting, William. We're going to talk about Brady Edmonds here in a little bit, but let's keep it current. You've done a lot of work on Jacob Curry, our linebacker from Tim Tebow High or Nice High, whatever they call it, down in Florida. The redheaded monster that he is, do you see him landing with Ohio State? The previously mentioned Oklahoma, I know, is a threat. What's the latest after he's been around?
Well, his visit to Ohio State went well. I spoke to him just a couple of days ago. I guess I put an article on our site. It went well, but he's not done yet. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens this week and when he goes to Florida State. He did tell me his decision is down to 3 schools now: Oklahoma, Ohio State, Florida State. The only one he hasn't made an official visit to is Florida State this weekend, and he is someone Florida State wants, and he is, of course, an in-state kid for them. He's from Jacksonville, Nice. I think it'd be a little foolish to say you have a good read on him before he makes that Florida State visit. Right now, I legitimately think he could end up at any of the 3 schools. But I would reserve judgment. I know often you want to have an answer right after a kid visits your school. And I've done this long enough that I try to tell people, don't get your strong inclination 24 hours after a kid makes an official visit. Give him a little time to look back on the visit. And if he has more visits coming up, give him time to take that visit too. I just think that Florida State visit is going to be very key for him this weekend. And it's not exactly a big game, by the way. If I'm not mistaken, Florida State is hosting Pitt.
Ha! Yeah, I saw a tailgate video from Pitt the other day that if I had seen that, I would have transferred if I was a student there. It was so depressing. I'm not kidding. If I'd have seen that, I'd be like, I just can't go on. It was a good run, but no more Pitt for me, and the accent would drive me nuts. But I digress. All right. Speaking of recruiting, I told you guys this. I'm going to get to your questions here in a sec, but we're going to get some video up here. Let's address this and why we're doing this. Now, we're going back and finishing up all our 2027 commitments, video for Mark, Buckeye in the Sky, and then we're going to run Mark's ranking of the 2027 guys that he's seen on video, regardless of commitment or whatever. So that should be fun, but we got to get all those done. We still have to do the one today. Brady Edmonds will be coming, and then we've got Jeremiah's little brother coming in a couple weeks, and then we'll get to that. But we've gone out, and I would like to, I said this the other day, I need to extend a formal apology to Favor Aki's family, the Delaware Hayes community, and even the Buckeyes, because we've gone to see Favor Aki 3 times. What is it? We're going into week 7. So about half the time we go to see Favor Aki. Bill saw him, 1 play, ankle. Garrick went back to see him, and the other team put 15 guys on the field and didn't let him go anywhere. And then Mark went to see him, and he was like, you know what? I heard Porter's coming. I'm not even going to suit up. I'm not even sure that actually happened, but he didn't play. So we also did a video for you guys today. We will go see Favor Aki next year when he's in Buckeye colors, so as to avoid him having to go through even more rehab, because Lord knows what will happen next time we go. Probably move up his leg. Digression. All right, Mark. The title of this show is The Team to Beat. We discussed that. And then Cali cool trend continues. CJ Stroud, Cali. Justin Sayin, Cali. Luke Fahey, Cali. Brady Edmonds, Cali. Now, the Cali cool thing plays off of the Justin Sayin being apparently unflappable. Hop on the train now, because the wagon for Julian Sayin is adding people, and the bandwagon's getting bigger and bigger. So hop on. But Brady Edmonds, Mark, we talked about him a lot. He might have the strongest arm, in my opinion, that I've seen.
Going to take a look at some tape of Brady.
So kill your voice, and then take us from here. What you think of Brady Edmonds? Your thoughts as the father of a quarterback who stands in the pocket a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely become a more keen eye for quarterbacks, having watching them so closely at all these quarterback sessions. I have to go to trainers, whatever. So you pick up a lot of what the coach speak is on that.
Sure.
Bill and I saw him this summer, and he went to, I think he spent 3 days at the Ohio State camp, right, Bill? Yeah, I mean, he kind of was in town for the whole week, and he took every rep, and every day he got a little better, and I think that really bodes well for his commitment to this program and how he wants to work with the coaches, and all that stuff's great. The first thing, and Dan, you said this, his arm strength, okay? And he started as a freshman, and then he played as a sophomore, and I'm telling you right now, as a freshman and a sophomore, he was ripping it. And we were giving him NFL comparisons, and he's not done. I mean, I put on this tape. I had to put my glasses on because I couldn't see the ball zip. I was like, is this film blurry? Is it too dark in the sky? Or is the ball literally moving so fast? My eyes aren't picking it up. And I think he's added a couple RPMs to this football since last year. There's a few throws on this film, and they're not in these first couple. I kind of put some clips of him rolling out and using his feet. I always like to do that because I always want to see what kind of an athlete he is. And he's a good athlete. We knew he wasn't going to be Michael Vick back there, but as you see him spit out of that move, and you'll see him on this next play run here a little bit, where can he beat defensive linemen? That's what and there you go. He's going to run through him like a tight end. And then he's got some speed in the open field. But again, he can beat you with his feet, but it's not what he's there to do. This is what he's there to do. This is about a 65 to 68-yard throw. And
in the air.
He got lambasted as he threw that ball. Like, he didn't get to step into that and enjoy a step through. The flick right there was very just like nonchalant. I'm going to, let this go. And then he's got a couple digs and crossers here, where these are 90-mile-an-hour fastballs you would see at the MLB game or something. I mean, he can really, like this one right here, when he steps into that, nope, don't get to see it. But that's what we expected to see. That's what we wanted to see. And I love that he's making a jump. And in my own personal life, I can see my own sophomore as a 15-year-old saying, you know what? I'm watching him in this weight room and puberty and all these things that are happening, especially when you're that big, that young like Brady is, boy. And when we say, okay, the development of him, I have to do my little write-up for the Bucknuts. Can you imagine this kid in the weight room with Mick for a couple years, what this arm's going to look like? We've said Justin Herbert is the comparison.
That's old.
I mean, from Buckeyes, Cardell Jones was a little bit like this, 6'5", 250 with the howitzer. But I think this kid has a little more zip. Then he's probably a better athlete than Cardell. No one's going to argue that. CJ Stroud, you could throw that name out there, the same type of feet, the same type of maybe poise in the pocket, and the same type of arm. But he compares to some of the NFL prototypical drop back guys. I'm not going to say Josh Allen. Josh Allen's feet are freakish, but that arm or that hose that they rip it with, that's very comparable. Some of these new guys, Drake May and some of the younger guys, you try to want to compare them to those guys because that's more of the trendy hip names out there. But it's all pro style stuff, and it's all guys that are top of the food chain type things.
Hey, here's a doing the comparison thing. Here's a little fun fact about Brady Edmonds. And maybe you want to throw this name in as a comparison. Who do you think Brady Edmonds is named after and why?
I'll guess, but you go ahead.
Tom?
Brady Oldinger, the guy in my fraternity who's really could drink a S-load? No?
No, not quite.
Tom, because he's from the West Coast. Tom Brady was a West Coast guy. Does that make any sense?
Well, you're on the track a little bit, but not exactly why. Brady Edmonds' dad was living in Boston. And what quarterback would you think when you think of Boston?
There you go.
And the New England Patriots. Tom Brady, of course. Brady Edmonds is named after Tom Brady because his dad was living in Boston, New England Patriots, and all that. And his dad is a big Boston Red Sox fan, actually. He and I talked quite a bit. He's a big MLB guy like I am, quite a bit about the Cleveland Indians and the Boston Red Sox because, they were possibly, who knows, headed for the playoffs, and they did make the playoffs. But that's where Brady Edmonds' name came from, being named after Tom Brady, because going back to when his dad was living in Boston and all that. So, size-wise, there is a similarity there too. So maybe that's a comparison. Just a little fun fact about Brady Edmonds.
My guess is, and I don't have any way to deal with this, but how many kids do you think were named Brady in the Boston area from that time? I'm serious. Like, so my daughter is named Emma. We knew we wanted that name forever. And then like 3 months before she was born, Jennifer Aniston named her child Emma on Friends. And I was like, oh, here we go. Now, like, I'm not kidding. She's been in classes. It's like Emma R, Emma D, Emma L, Emma V. My guess is in the New England area, half the class is like, if Brady's here, everyone's on a last name basis. You really want to know, like, who named their kid Vince for Will Fork? You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of thing. That would be impressive. There's going to be, listen, there were some Braxtons around here now that I can tell people in the Dayton area where Ohio State fans, when Braxton Miller was quarterback, were like, the only thing I know is your son is not as fast as Braxton. I can tell you from the games. Cliff Clavin. There he is.
The fun facts from Bill.
Is that me?
I feel like no, they were saying you're gonna miss Bill's fun facts, but I remember Cliff Clavin walking into that bar saying, little known fact, guys.
We don't date ourselves well enough.
Cliff Clavin in those days.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was a big Cheers guy.
All right, let's get back to the questions here. There were some really good ones. And look, we did not forget about St. Clair. Tavian St. Clair. You can't forget about him in the Dayton area because he's on the Lee's chicken ads all the time already. Good for him. And NIL, making me hungry. How about this? Just saying for Heisman, is Julian saying? I mean, that's Julian saying for Heisman sounds ridiculous, but I'll say this. If they keep winning and, I would think Oregon needs to drop off, right? For Dante Moore. Who else? I would think you need Miami to drop off. I don't think Carson Beck's up there now, but he could be. Mateer went down. Who else are they in the mix for? But, excuse me. The real question is this. I had an NFL guy tell me he thinks Julian will be in New York, but that he and Jeremiah will split votes. And I said, from your mouth to God's ears, let's just do that. Boy, he has been impressive, man. Julian saying, I think everyone here, we all had high hopes for him. If you thought he was going to be the most accurate quarterback by 10% over every other quarterback in college football through 5 games, you should be living in Vegas and betting consistently with your vibes. And go ahead. All right, let's see if there's any questions up here. We got a bunch of them, so I'm having to scroll through. What do you guys think about this? James Peebles looks like he's lost some bursts from last year. Maybe it seems that way because Bo is doing so good. Bill, your thoughts on Bo Jackson? I was high on Bo Jackson. I'll be honest. I am amazed at how good he is as a true freshman. There was not one time during his recruitment where I thought, you know what? Bo Jackson is going to be the best freshman running back in America. And I apologize to Team Jackson. Maybe everyone should name their kid after an MVP and then give him a nickname of an all-time player. Bill, your thoughts on the immediate of Bo Jackson?
Well, I saw him, quote in quotation marks, saw him 3 straight years in high school, and it wasn't until his senior year that I saw him a lot because he was always playing defense when I went to see him. His senior year, he played offense, and I was there the night that he ran for over 300 yards against Mansfield. So much of that game was based on pure speed. I mean, he just ran by everyone. What I didn't realize was just how strong and powerful he is. You rarely see him not going forward. He doesn't go backwards often, that's for sure, if at all. He's more powerful and strong than I thought he would be. And that's probably the thing that's impressed me that I wasn't aware of just from watching him before he got to Ohio State. I really am impressed with his ability to break tackles, his strength, and the ability to run between the tackles. And he's not, in the fact that he's just not just a speed guy for sure.
Mark, I want to get your comment on this, but I want to say this here. Buck Rational, great. We're talking about kids' names here. If anyone is out there is expecting, consider the name Dean. I'll make you a deal. If you name your kid Dean or Poobah, you have free admission to. You can be Bucknuts for life, free. I just need a copy of the baby and you just clip this video, show me the baby and a picture, and you are free Bucknuts premium membership for life. If you have twins and call them Dean and Poobah, you can actually have my job. I will quit. And you can have my job and everything that goes with it, because that would mean that kind of commitment will show that I'm not where I'm supposed to be.
There's someone that
you
wants your job more than you. Yeah, that's funny.
That stick-to-itiveness, that kind of desire. Mark.
So Bo Jackson, right?
Bo Jackson had trouble staying healthy, I would say, in high school. He was out a little bit and also was used as a linebacker a lot. Are you surprised, as one whose job it is to project these dudes, and he would be in your wheelhouse, the number one running back in college football among freshmen is from Ohio? Your thoughts, Mr. Scouting Ohio?
Yeah. I said earlier in this podcast, go back to my podcast when I said how right I was about us running the table. And I usually say, go back last year when we were talking about this player and we nailed it, on Jameer Brown 3 years ago. And I pat myself on the back. If you went back and you listened to me talk about Bo Jackson a year or 2 or 3 ago, I was not saying he would be the best tailback in the country freshman year. So you don't have to look for those podcasts. I will admit that right now. And Bill kind of alluded to that. When we would go see him, we would get a little taste of tailback, and they had another super scat back that was really quick, but you'd see him dominate on defense. And you just kept watching the safety grow into a linebacker, and you thought, wow, maybe there's something we don't know. And Bill and I would talk like, why are they not playing him at tailback? What are we missing? And I actually asked the college coach, and he went into a whole dissertation. Well, he's great on zone plays, and when he gets north and south and this and that, and sometimes east and west. And I listened to a bunch of different reasons, like why isn't this kid popping at tailback the way scouts and people think? And maybe we thought, they just need more important on defense. They only put him over there when they need him. So all of the run up wasn't the hype. Like we hype some players up on this channel. There's no doubt.
You do?
Go figure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but there you go. So this is one that we didn't throw the hype on the way we could have. And it was largely because of how he was used. It's not like we don't have snippets of, like Bill saying, he had a big game when he saw him one time. There are clips of pure speed. It just was, the coaching staff there kind of threw you off. And they never said that, hey, it just was the way they used it. And maybe the other kid had earned his role as a tailback too. So you throw all that into a pie, and now you have a tailback that you're asking us, why didn't you guys nail this coming out of high school? So that's what the insinuation was, Bill, that we didn't nail this. And now this kid, because he looks faster now than he has. He looks decisive. I mean, he looks like, not Maurice Claret as a freshman, not that big, like grizzly bear running through the line. But, boy, he's put some great tape in where the national media and pretty much every fan has jumped on his back. And the name does not help. People immediately are like, oh, Bo Jackson. And he's not a far cry from Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was 240 pounds and the fastest human ever. But, I mean, this Bo Jackson's a big kid and with a lot of speed. I mean, he's got something to him.
I'll tell you what, the thing I've been most impressed with is he's slippery for a bigger dude. It doesn't seem like anyone, now he'll get rocked this weekend now that I say that, but he doesn't, for a guy that's 217 pounds. And by the way, if you're 217 pounds as a freshman, guess what you're not going to be as a senior? 217 pounds. Well, he'll never see a senior year here, but I digress. And by the way, but I digress. I can't put that on a t-shirt. Go watch a podcast. 60% of the hosts hosting podcasts throw that in once or twice. I wish it was original. It's not. This is the question I want to ask. And this one will just, maybe I'll save it for the next show, actually. I'll save that one. I was going to ask this. This is what we're going to talk about on a show coming up. Has Bo Jackson been so good that in the salary cap era, maybe you don't want to spend your money the next year on a running back, given he's got 2 more years here and he's a freshman? Do you want to spend that money somewhere else now? Maybe then, do you like the idea that David Gabriel Georges is not going to reclassify because you got a year buffer there? So who knows? We will get into all that. But we've gone over 40 minutes. And if you guys know anything about the salary cap, Bill is getting paid time and a half right now, and I cannot afford to go too many more minutes. Loved having you guys stop by. Love having these guys together. It has been a treat hosting the show with these dudes forever. There won't be that many left, so make sure you have it as appointment television, listening, streaming, whatever you do. Have a good one.